Now back to Ottawa Today with Mark Sutcliffe on 1310 News and simulcast on Rogers TV.
Elliot Tepper is with us from Carleton University to talk about the big stories in international politics every Wednesday on Ottawa Today. And just one final thought about Donald Trump before we move on to other topics.
And American politics. The thing to watch for is this. Donald Trump is not in danger as long as the Republican base stays solid. And the evidence is it is staying solid. That is, something like over 8 out of 10 of Republicans who supported him still support him. Watch for signs that changes. But so far, that's rock solid, and they'll blame everybody except him. And they like a lot of what he's doing. The other side of it is the Democrats have to get their act together. And there's precious little sign of that. They've just released an economic platform saying, here's what we're for, not just against Donald Trump. Certainly this health care bill, among other things, gives ample ammunition to Democrats and also on the environment and immigration, but we'll have to see if they can ever actually make use of it. The big item coming are the midterm elections. We'll have to see really where power lies and who can use it the best. Now, on to the rest of the world.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the other, and we always look at this in the context of what we might be missing because the headlines are so dominated by American politics, but there's a lot going on, including in places like China and India.
Yes. Tensions have gone up a notch in the world, and I always worry, in particular, when tensions involve nuclear power. States that have nuclear power, almost out of the blue, it appears that India and China suddenly are heading towards some kind of a confrontation. Their soldiers are actually facing each other across a line that each one says is on their side of the border. So what's happened here? Well, what's happening is that it's almost a repeat of what happened in 1962. Shortly after India became independence and China gained, they won their Revolutionary War, their slogan was China and India are friends, China, Hindi, bye-bye. But India went sending its soldiers up to its remote parts of the new territory that it controls and found the Chinese were building a road. And they said, well, you can't build that. That's in our property. And they, no, that's in ours, said the Chinese. And it actually led to India then kind of probing with the troops saying, hey, we can't have you do that. And China responded with a massive invasion in 1962. They just rolled down across into India, and they stopped when they felt they wanted to stop. It was a humiliating defeat. They pulled back to what they considered their border, and that road was connecting, it was vital to the Chinese. It was connecting Tibet and Xinjiang, so they wanted it. And now suddenly the Indians are discovering that in Bhutan, which is under India's international protection, the Chinese are building, a road. And they are building a road which has great geopolitical significance for India because it could be a choke point for a very neck of land connecting one part of India to a big chunk of India in the far north. So they're saying, what are you doing? You're building on our land. And suddenly, and China's saying, no, this is a settled border. They're saying it isn't. Indians saying it's not a settled border. What this means is that two nuclear-powered states, who are no doubt incipient rivals, they can talk all they want about, look, we're each other's best friends, we're each other's best trading partners, trade has gone up and up, we're more and more interdependent. These are the two largest states on earth, they're both nuclear-powered, and suddenly India finds itself in position of having to challenge, in its view, a Chinese established fact, and China's not about to give. So suddenly we have an increase in tensions there simultaneously. At the same era, the last few weeks, India and Pakistan have been raising the temperature on the Kashmir side. Again, two nuclear-armed states with a history of conflict. So tensions have gone up a notch in one part of the world where, in a way, the world just doesn't need another raise of tensions.
And when that happens, of course, under normal circumstances, you turn to the United States to kind of police the world, to mediate, to intervene, to try to bring a peaceful resolution. Yes. And that doesn't seem to be at the top of Donald Trump's priority list right now.
In this particular instance, there probably wouldn't have been a role for the U.S., but the role of the U.S., generally speaking, indeed has changed because China is not only on the move in regard to this particular stretch of very strategic territory for India as well as China, but it's, as we've talked about, on the move in the South China Sea. It's militarizing the South China Sea. It's picking disputes with Japan. But also with Pakistan, they have a very strong relationship. So they are expanding into the Indian Ocean, India's sphere of influence, militarily, working closely with Pakistan and with Sri Lanka. So again, China's on the move, whereas the United States, and saying, we are the policemen here, we're going to help mediate this. So North Korea remains a real tension point. It's gone up a notch. It's stabilized in the last week or two. That is, nothing terrible has happened. There's no reason to think it will stay stable, and the U.S. isn't leading. And the same in the Middle East. The Middle East has been off our radar here, but a lot is happening there. And it's Russia calling the shots in the Middle East unambiguously. And they're saying, we will let the U.S. work with us. But take a look at the border between Israel and Jordan right now. There's now Russian police helping to stabilize that, or are they going to assist Iran in helping, build a base on the Golan Heights? A lot of tension there, where the U.S. indeed, as you pointed out, Mark, should be playing a closer, a bigger role, a major role, a stabilizing role. Right now, there's a lot of tension points in the world that have gone up, and the U.S. is pretty well missing in action.